there, here to talk to you about baby sleep cues and also offer a suggestion on how to know when it's time to put your baby to sleep. So when me and my husband were first new parents, a whole 5 months ago, the biggest issue on our minds were sleep and how to get our daughter to do it on her own. We did not want to be rocking our child to sleep at the age of 5, so we knew it was important to us to get her to rest on her own. Now, after doing my research, I found that one of the single most important things was to catch them before they got overly tired, which is a difficult thing to do in those first few months, because I know for my daughter at least, it seemed like she was always tired because she just didn't know how to sleep yet. And so these are some things, some cues rather, that told me, okay, it's time to put her to rest. And something that I think was rather unique to her was a vocalization of her being sleepy. And now I don't mean crying or whining, because those are definitely signs of overtiredness. However, what she would do to vocalize her sleepiness is she would screech. We called it raptor screaming. That's what it sounded like. And she would also yell in a deep-toned voice, like, oh, rah, 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 which is not her normal voice that she would use. So those are two things that she would do to say, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm sleepy. Some more universal things are yawning, of course, rubbing her eyes. Also, her nose and the area underneath her eyes would get very pink and purple. She's got some stork bites, some birthmarks on her forehead and back of her neck. Those would get more inflamed, more pink, more red. And I would notice, and I think this is the biggest universal factor for any child, not just an infant, of getting sleepy, is a lack of attention or focus. So she would be playing with toys and she would compulsively almost go between this toy and then that toy and then this toy and then that toy and then this toy. Like she just couldn't focus to play on something. She also had a harder time making eye contact, engaging with my husband and I for play. She'd have to look away quite often. I saw her looking more towards any screens that might be on. So if we were upstairs, her focus would go to the TV and back to her toys, and TV and back to her toys. Whereas normally she just ignores the TV. That's not the most important thing in the room. So those are some things that helped us know, okay, it's time to rest. However, the thing that helped me out the most as a new parent and not really knowing how all this went was keeping track of the time. So between months 0 and 3, her times of wakefulness would be about an hour to an hour and a half. And after that, we added about a half hour onto that. So what I mean is between 3 and 8 months now, she'll usually be awake for about 2 hours. She can make it a little bit longer these days, honestly, in a happy way. But that helped me out so much as a new parent because I just didn't trust myself and I was worried about putting her to sleep too early for some reason. Now, in retrospect, and I'll give you guys this advice, don't worry so much about that. If it's been a good hour and a half and maybe they just seem so awake to you, in my experience at least, they're ready to go to sleep, honestly. It just hasn't hit them yet. By the time you get that new diaper on them and sing them their little lullaby, they're going to be out for the count. So that is my biggest advice to you guys. That's something that really helped me just be more confident in identifying the cues, because the cues do change. They're varying, and some days these kids are just going to act like they can go on for hours, and trust me, they cannot. So again, between months 0 and 3, and I would suggest that this would change, be a little bit varying for each child. Between an hour to an hour and a half are her periods of wakefulness during the day. And after that, add a half hour to the point where now at 8.5 months old, she can go for about 2.5 hours. And you're going to find exactly what's right for your son or daughter. Again, this is going to vary. For instance, if they didn't have a great nap, say they only slept for a half hour, maybe you subtract a half hour from, that period of wakefulness and just start really focusing in on those cues, looking for the sleepy cues. So I hope that gives you guys some suggestions on how to identify when your son or daughter is ready to sleep. And I hope that you can start working on putting them to sleep on their own. Thank you very much for listening, and happy sleeping.